Okay, good evening. Thank you everybody for joining us once again on another edition of Speakeasy. She was asking for it. Who asked you to go out so late? That outfit spelled trouble. Who told you to drink so much? But you have slept with him in the past. She didn't look like she didn't like it. She didn't ask me to stop. Who asked you to stay on? Why didn't you just leave? It was consensual. How many times have we heard these comments? Worse still, how many times have all of us thought and said these things? Let me answer that for you. At least once in your life, these thoughts have crossed your head. If you're nodding sheepishly to yourself, you've come to the right place because this is exactly what we're going to be discussing this evening. Consent. Good evening, everybody. I'm Sanjana Chauhan. You're watching another edition of the Speakeasy webinar series. And this is where we discuss everything under the sun, but with a gendered and an inclusive perspective. Consent. Why don't we get it? Why do we have such a tough time talking and taking no for an answer? Is it to do with patriarchy? Is it to do with demonizing or putting taboo on women's sexuality, poor laws, and even poorer conviction, or all of the above? That's exactly what we're going to be discussing this evening. And why are we so quick to blame the victims? Let me quickly introduce my panel this evening discussing the same. I have Liz D'Souza, founder of Lizlyn Careers and Brainchild behind Speakeasy, Dr. Saida Ruksheda, psychiatrist and psychotherapist, Seema Kushwaha, advocate in the Supreme Court and the counsel for Nirbhaya's parents and the legal advisor of the Nirbhaya Jyoti Trust, Tushada Uma, model, visual artist and performer, and Harshal Karya, founder of Shebang Digital Agency. Thank you so much to everybody for being here and to our viewers for once again signing up. Please remember that you can at any time ask questions. We'll try to answer all of them. The question and answer option is at the bottom of your panel. It's on the bottom bar. You can also comment. Also, we're streaming the slide from our Facebook page. It's called Speakeasy. So if you cannot catch it on here for any kind of reason, please watch it there. We'll try and field your questions on there as well. Tushada, let me come to you first. Thank you so much for joining us. And really, I absolutely think you are extremely brave to talk about and spread awareness about what must be a rather triggering, harrowing experience for you that you spoke up about earlier on social media. Do you think that you can take us through what exactly happened and more importantly, how it highlighted a very disturbing fact about sexual consent or consent of any kind, even in a largely urban setting?
Yes, so to put it simply, I was having fun and I had an experience where my boundaries were broken and I spoke about it and I received a lot of support and a lot of backlash for it. So I would like to bring attention to the backlash aspect of it. Since as you point out, there was bravery being brought up very often in this conversation of me coming out. So why does that happen? As soon as a person who is a victim or has an experience that has a lack of consent being displayed or explained, people immediately get into this stance of being protective of the abuser. Of being justifying the abuser's behavior. And I think it starts very early on in our lives where, like I always say this, consent begins at home. Consent begins with how you're taught to deal with social stances and social interactions. And consent begins in very early forms of your life. And I think that goes amiss very often with a very vast population. So I think that is something I'm trying to constantly bring attention towards. When I spoke about my experience, it was so that somebody else does not have to go through it, but that got lost in translation because there were so many people so ready to dismiss the experience, and it makes it an overall tough process to deal with the whole situation.
Okay. Dr. Ruksheda, you know, this is something that we've seen across every single horrific case, really. And a lot of times it's, you know, it's because, of course, that there is no understanding of what constitutes sexual harassment, what constitutes harassment, and more importantly, what constitutes consent and what constitutes sexual consent. So I think it is extremely imperative if right now for our viewers and really for all of us, if you can spell out what consent means, whether the fact that it is absolutely reversible, the fact that it needs to be specific. So if you could just spell that out for us.
So when we're talking, if you're talking purely like in sexual interactions, right? So the sexual interaction is everything from a smile, from a look, to a text, to a picture, to a date, to while on the date what we're doing, and then right down into the bedroom. So to assume anything at all on part of somebody else is kind of very arrogant, right? As in, why am I going to just assume that even if it's a partner of mine who's for years, whether I'm married to somebody or it's a partner, why am I assuming that, okay, they're always okay at every time? And why, so of course, consent has to be, a lot of consent is already kind of implied because you're in a committed relationship and you have behavioral patterns and everything is fine and great. But if you've shut down and if you haven't kind of been listening to whoever you're with, whether they're saying yes or no, whether they are saying no, whether they're saying it verbally or even trying to convey it non-verbally, if you have shut down and if you're not listening, then you're not really present there, isn't it? So that means, and that's something that all of us need to understand. And yes, like you said, you know, that just the concept of consent is so bizarre and difficult for people to understand sometimes, which, you know, it should be very, very simple, right? Yes, no. I mean, there are no gray areas here. There is not even like a maybe here, right? But then even the maybe kind of like falls into more no than yes. But we don't know this because we don't really talk about it. We don't explain it, not to our children, not to our peers, not to our friends, not to ourselves. Because there's so much of, you know, if you're also in the moment and you're not very sure, you need to let them know, I'm not sure. And that means, okay, stop. Even if I'm not saying stop. And that's something that I as a person also need to understand, that if I'm not sure, that means no. If I'm not sure, that means stop. So and at any given time, no matter what, of course, if I'm like, you know, if I'm not saying no, if I'm saying no because not because I'm trying to kind of like, you know, be nasty or something like that, but for whatever purpose I'm saying no, if you're not listening to me,
it has to be respected.
It has to be respected. So I have to respect myself and listen to my question marks and listen to my no, and then I have to verbalize it or non-verbalize it, but my partner has to be able to be present in the moment and listen.
What you of course spoke about, and I'll come back to you on that, is of course the kind of culture that persists around it. There's several reasons of course for it, because a lot of times I feel you know, it's so easy for us to kind of put it on the victim and say, you should have walked out, you should have said no, you should have been a little more assertive. But I feel a lot of times there is also not even that understanding, because women are kind of raised to feel that you're making a big deal out of it, you're overthinking this, maybe he didn't mean it that way. Seema ji, आपकी लड़ाई की वजह से, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल थैंक यू सो मच फॉर कमिंग ऑन हियर, आपकी लड़ाई की वजह से लॉज बदले गए, लगातार आपने लड़ाई की निर्भया के पेरेंट्स के लिए, और हमने बहुत साल से ये देखा है कि लड़ाई चलती रही। पर आपको क्या लगता है कि ये लॉज काफी है, क्योंकि ये बदल सकते हैं, पर लीगैलिटीज में भी बहुत सारे लूपहोल्स हैं अभी भी?
एग्जैक्टली, थैंक यू सो मच संजना जी कि आपने मुझे इस प्लेटफॉर्म पर इतने सारे पार्टिसिपेंट जो भी डिफरेंट फील्ड से हैं उनके साथ मुझे एक मौका दिया है अपनी बात रखने का। देखिए संजना जी, हमारे पास 1860 का कोडिफाइड लॉ है। जब ब्रिटिश पीरियड में लॉ बना उसके बाद से हम उस लॉ से रेगुलेट हो रहा है हमारा भारत। लेकिन निर्भया केस के रिगार्डिंग अगर हम बात करें तो 2012 में जब निर्भया के साथ ये 16 दिसंबर को एक क्राइम हुआ, उसके बाद उससे पहले हमारी कंट्री में विमेन सेफ्टी को लेकर के इतना बड़ा डिबेट और डिस्कशन नहीं हुआ था, राइट। डिफरेंट जैसे कि हमारा जो भी साहित्य है, जो लिटरेचर है, उन सब में फीमेल बात करती थी अपनी दबी आवाज में, क्योंकि जब भी कोई फीमेल अपनी आवाज उठाती है, वो अपना उसका क्या पर्पज है, वो किस तरीके से सोसाइटी को देखती है, उसके क्या फ्रीडम है, जब भी वो बात करती है किसी भी प्लेटफॉर्म पर, तो तुरंत उसको ट्रोल किया जाता है। अब जो उसकी ट्रोलिंग हम सभी देख सकते हैं डिफरेंट जो भी सोशल मीडिया प्लेटफॉर्म है। लेकिन जब ये 2012 में निर्भया के साथ क्राइम हुआ, उसके बाद जब ये इतना बड़ा मूवमेंट हुआ, हम लोगों ने रिएक्ट किया कि एक बेटी के साथ दिल्ली में, राजधानी में, कैपिटल में इतना हीनियस क्राइम कैसे हो सकता है रात में 8 बजे। तो एकदम से रिएक्शन आया लोगों का, और रिएक्शन में हम लोगों ने कैंडल मार्च किए, बहुत सारे प्रोटेस्ट किए, ऑल ओवर इंडिया में प्रोटेस्ट हुए। लेकिन डिबेट डिस्कशन होते रहे, लेकिन धीरे धीरे ये मुद्दा विमेन सेफ्टी का साइलेंट मोड में चला गया। हमें आज भी अगर कोई क्राइम होता है, तो मैं कॉमन पीपल की बात कर रही हूँ, देखिए इंटेलेक्चुअल क्लास हर जगह डिबेट डिस्कशन करता है, चाहे वो मीडिया प्लेटफॉर्म हो, एनजीओ जो हो, ट्रस्ट हो, या बहुत सारे जो भी इंटरनेशनल नेशनल प्लेटफॉर्म है, वहां पर ये महिला सुरक्षा को लेकर के बात होती है। लेकिन हमारा जो इंडिया का लार्जेस्ट पॉपुलेशन है, वो इससे कट जाता है, क्योंकि उसकी अदर प्रॉब्लम्स भी बहुत सारे हैं।
बिल्कुल।
और हम लोग जो भी बात करते हैं, किसी भी प्लेटफॉर्म की बात करें, अपने देश के अगर इंटेलेक्चुअल क्लास की मैं बात करूं, तो जैसे हम लोग भी हैं आज यहाँ पर इस प्लेटफॉर्म पर हैं, तो संजना जी ये वीडियो अगर हम कहीं डालेंगे, राइट, किसी भी प्लेटफॉर्म पे, तो हमारे साथ में, या फिर बहुत सारे टेलीविजन है लोग देखते हैं, तो वो जो पीपल हैं जहां पर एक्चुअल में विमेन राइट्स का कोई ही मतलब नहीं है, उनसे हम कनेक्ट नहीं हो पा रहे हैं। पहली बात ये कि हम कनेक्ट नहीं पा रहे हैं। दूसरी बात ये है कि अगर हम कितना भी लॉ मेकिंग कर लें, हमारे पास इंडिया में सफिशिएंट विमेन के लिए लॉ है, चाहे वो हमारा कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन हो, उसमें जो भी फंडामेंटल राइट है, उसमें अलग से फीमेल के लिए प्रोविजंस किए गए हैं। अब फंडामेंटल ड्यूटीज में हमारी बात की गई है। डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस एक्ट आया 2005 में, अगेन प्रॉपर्टी ट्रांसफर प्रॉपर्टी राइट में 2005 में अमेंडमेंट किया गया, जुवेनाइल जस्टिस एक्ट में अमेंडमेंट किया गया, सीआरपीसी में अमेंडमेंट किया गया जो 125 मेंटेनेंस का सेक्शन है। लेकिन इसका जो आउटपुट है, जो रिजल्ट होना चाहिए था, जो इम्प्लीमेंटेशन होना चाहिए था, वो हमारे पास बहुत ही कम है। तो हम कितनी भी लॉ मेकिंग कर लें, अगर उसका इम्प्लीमेंटेशन नहीं है उस लॉ का, अगर जो लोग क्राइम कर रहे हैं उनका कन्विक्शन नहीं हो रहा है, केस सुप्रीम कोर्ट, हाई कोर्ट, ट्रायल कोर्ट में 10 साल तक पेंडिंग है, तो उस लॉ का जो पर्पज है कि क्राइम को कम करना है, लोगों में डर पैदा करना है, लॉ एंड ऑर्डर को ठीक करना है, तो वो हमारा पर्पज फुलफिल नहीं हो रहा। तो आप कितने भी अमेंडमेंट लाते जाइए, लेकिन उसका रिजल्ट हमें नहीं मिलेगा, पॉजिटिव रिजल्ट नहीं मिलेगा। नेगेटिव रिजल्ट एक हमने जरूर देखा है कि जो डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस एक्ट आया 2005 में, उसके बाद फीमेल को एक राइट मिला कि अगर उसकी फैमिली के अंदर, चाहे वो इन-लॉज की फैमिली हो या उसकी पेरेंटल हाउस हो, वहां पर अगर उसके साथ वायलेंस होता है, मेंटली या फिजिकली हैरेसमेंट होता है, तो उसके पास एक राइट है कि वो कंप्लेन कर सकती है। लेकिन इस लॉ के अंदर मुझे बहुत खामियां दिखती हैं। आपने किसी को एक वेपन दे दिया, लेकिन उस वेपन का उसको यूज करना नहीं आ रहा है। अगर वो यूज कर रही है तो उसके पास जो एक कि अगर हमने कोई एक पिस्टल ली तो उसमें कारतूस नहीं है, तो हम कैसे यूज करेंगे। सेम वैसे ही कि 2005 में आपने डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस एक्ट के तहत उसको राइट दे दिया, लेकिन जब वो अपने राइट का इम्प्लीमेंटेशन के लिए कोर्ट में जा रही है और अपने इन-लॉज के अगेंस्ट वो कंप्लेन कर रही है, तो सबसे पहले वो अपनी उस फैमिली से अलग हो जाती है जिनके अगेंस्ट वो गई है। सोसाइटी के अंदर पेरेंटल फैमिली उसको रखने के लिए तैयार नहीं है
जी।
ससुराल में वो रह नहीं सकती, फिनेंशियली वो स्ट्रांग नहीं है। सोशली हमारी कंट्री में अभी भी एक इंडिपेंडेंट विमेन को कहीं पर भी अपनी फ्रीडम के साथ रहने का राइट नहीं है। अगर वो रहेगी भी तब भी उसका जो सोसाइटी का स्ट्रक्चर है वो उसको हमेशा गलत नजरों से देखेगी कि आखिर क्या कारण है। मतलब जो भी हमारी गवर्नमेंट भी फीमेल को राइट दे रही है, अगर उन्होंने डाइवोर्स वाला राइट दिया कि वो डिवोर्स ले सकती है अगर दोनों की अच्छी अंडरस्टैंडिंग नहीं है, म्यूचुअल कंसेंट से डिवोर्स होने के बावजूद भी फीमेल को रिस्पॉन्सिबल माना जा रहा है। तो अब जो फीमेल कोर्ट में अपने राइट के लिए फाइट करेगी, उसके पास फिनेंशियली वो स्ट्रांग नहीं है, मेंटली सोसाइटी का स्ट्रक्चर ऐसा है कि फीमेल को स्ट्रांग होने ही नहीं देते, उसको किसी ना किसी तरीके से मेल के ऊपर डिपेंडेंट रहना है। सोशली सोसाइटी का स्ट्रक्चर बताया कि उसको रिस्पॉन्सिबल माना जाएगा, फिनेंशियली है नहीं, उसके पास कहीं पर रहने का भी प्लेस नहीं है। अब जिस पर्सन को अपने राइट के लिए फाइट करनी है और ये किसी भी पर्सन को स्ट्रांग बनाती है, ये चीजें उसको इंडिपेंडेंट बनाती हैं। तो जो फीमेल है जो किसी के ऊपर ऑलरेडी डिपेंडेंट है और वो उसको कंट्रोल कर रहा है, वो अपनी फ्रीडम का कैसे यूज करेगी? तो आप अगर लॉ मेकिंग कर रहे हैं हमारी गवर्नमेंट, तो आप अपनी सोसाइटी के स्ट्रक्चर को समझिए, उसके अकॉर्डिंग आप लॉ बनाइए। नहीं तो 2012 बर्मा कमेटी की रिकमेंडेशंस आए हैं, विशाखा गाइडलाइन, आज भी मी टू कैंपेन चला, हम सब ने देखा। विशाखा गाइडलाइन बहुत पहले की है, उसका इम्प्लीमेंटेशन मैं कहूंगी मेरे हिसाब से 0% मुझे लगा। अगर उसकी गाइडलाइन को फॉलो किया गया होता तो मी टू कैंपेन में मुझे लगता है कि शायद ही इस देश का कोई ऑफिस होगा जहां पर फीमेल का मॉलेस्टेशन ना हुआ हो, वो गवर्नमेंट ऑफिस हो, प्राइवेट हो, कॉर्पोरेट सेक्टर, कहीं पर भी। हेरेसमेंट का मतलब मेल के लिए ये है कि उसको फिजिकल टच हो, राइट, इसी को। और कमेंट की तुम तो एक जो लोकल लैंग्वेज में बोलते हैं माल लगती हो या डिफरेंट जो भी स्टेटमेंट कमेंट करती है, तो वहां कितना कि एक लेडी जो बहुत टैलेंटेड है, जिसके पास एनर्जी है वर्क करने की, जो अपने आप को प्रूव करना चाहती है, लेकिन उसको कैसे ये लोग कमेंट करके कंट्रोल करना चाहते हैं, उसको सप्रेस करना चाहते हैं। तो मुझे लगता है संजना जी कि जो पेटेट की जो है, जो फीमेल को इक्वली राइट नहीं दे रही है, इसका मतलब मैं अभी तक यही समझ पाई हूँ कि मेरी कंट्री भी इसीलिए पीछे है बहुत सारी चीजों में, क्योंकि 49% देश की पॉपुलेशन का टैलेंट का आप यूज नहीं कर पा रहे हैं।
बिल्कुल
ये बहुत सारे कारण हैं। और इसमें देखिए जो दिशा रेड्डी थी तेलंगाना में, वो बेटी डॉक्टर थी, निर्भया भी डॉक्टर थी। उसके अलावा एक हरियाणा में है, उस बेटी रीमा नाम है उनका, वो IAS ऑफिसर है, UPSC क्वालिफाइड है। उनका डिपार्टमेंटल इतना उनका हैरेसमेंट हुआ कि उन्होंने अब रिजाइन दे दिया। अब सोचिए कि इस कंट्री में फीमेल जो है वो कितना भी आप उसको एम्पावर्ड कर दिए, उसको अच्छी एजुकेशन दीजिए, फिनेंशियली इंडिपेंडेंट कर दीजिए, लेकिन सोसाइटी का स्ट्रक्चर ऐसा है कि उसको उसकी फ्रीडम का सही से यूज नहीं करने देंगे और सिक्योरिटी उसका सबसे बड़ा इशू रहेगा। तो कैसे पॉसिबल है कि बदलाव आएगा?
बिल्कुल
तो जी।
So, I think Harshal, what Seema has raised is something that's extremely valid, and I'm trying to understand your experience when it comes to striking the very fine balance and walking the line between creating a kind of culture like that, and also the perhaps the possible challenges that you face as a business owner, and also having dealt with such cases in your organization, of imposing those kind of legalities. So on both counts, what are the challenges that you face, and how do you think and how have you overcome them?
Okay. Firstly, तो नमस्ते to everybody. नमस्ते सीमा जी, आपने बहुत अच्छे points बोले और बहुत अच्छा लगा सुनने, वो सुनकर बहुत अच्छा लगा. I would say संजना, first I would say कि पहले तो मैं आपके पैनल में as per the reality अगर आप डालो तो आप मुझे बोल सकते हो कि आप token man हो, because जो आपके viewers कहते हैं, because so my organization, we employ more than 60% girls, and I fully agree with what Seema ji is saying, that if you bring more women in the workforce, a lot of economic benefits and societal benefits. I benefit myself as a result of that, and so I think that, but I do think, from what I understand, this reality is a bit of an outlier, because you don't have that much representation of women in the workforce. I think it becomes, automatically, according to me, once if 50-50 ho gaya workforce mein, if there are equal number of men and women in the workforce, then what happens, automatically the culture shapes itself towards equality. फिर उसमें ज़्यादा काम करने की ज़रूरत होती ही नहीं है, to be honest. Because what then happens is that, that's a law of nature, right? Then you have 50% men, 50% women. And then if the men do some katkuti, then the women are going to be like, Sale, ye barabar nahi hai. And then if the, vice versa, I think it automatically gets balanced. So I think the only remedy is really, it's not about, of course, there are a lot of things that you can do in terms of, all the legal guidelines that the government has put forth, and you can put forth your committees and everything. But I think you start with equal representation in the workforce. If you start with that, everything kind of starts getting taken, in the right space. And then you make examples of bad behavior. So for example, recently in my organization, we had a particular issue. Again, I will say, compared to the issues that Seema ji is talking about and, Saida ji is talking about, these issues are very, I would say, basic issues in a way. So what happened in my organization, there was ek ladka tha, usne, he was at a senior position. And at a senior position, this boy was messaging, maybe he started messaging one girl saying, oh, you look very pretty. Another girl, you look very pretty. Third girl, you look very pretty. So sab internet messenger pe ho raha tha. And then what happened, that because he was in a senior position, it's not as per the right spirit of working, number one. And it's not as per, it's not logical that what I realized after speaking to a lot of the girls who were, going through that, they said we couldn't speak up because he was in a senior position. So what happened is that I put out a survey immediately. The moment it came to light, I put out a survey. 9 girls out of 34 girls, 9 girls wrote back saying that I feel like I have been violated, not physically, but in conversation, I feel like I've been violated. So immediately next morning, while this person was in a very senior position, I said nothing doing. I terminated the guy immediately. Within 12 hours, he was terminated. And we sent him out and we said that, this is what it is. And we did next evening, we did a call with all the girls saying, look, these are the steps. So we got the guy a therapist, because obviously, I don't think this is a exile worthy. कि मतलब उसको banish कर दो कि इसके बाद काम ही नहीं कर सकता. I don't think that's the way. So I got that guy a therapist saying कि, you please do your sessions. He's still doing his sessions right now. I got all the girls a therapist who were, who were the 9 girls who felt like they had been violated. And the precedent was set that to the guys that, look, you can't do it this way. And to the girls that, you should be allowed to speak up. So I think if you ask me, I think we just need to, I would say just do 2-3 things. Number one is bring equal number of girls in the workforce. Automatically this happens where the culture becomes, clean. Second is, I would say that, I agree with what Seema ji is saying, that it's not so much about the law as much as it's about the culture. So I would say request Amir Khan and Shah Rukh Khan and Salman Khan to do ads on this, instead of doing ads on whatever else they're doing, sanitizer or whatever they are selling. So I think we should ask them to do ads on that and tell the boys that aise bartav aise karna chahiye. And I think the third thing is that, whatever the leaders should take examples quickly. There should not be inquiry ki, we'll have to go through, okay, if 9 girls are saying we should take the boys' point of view also. I think 9 people are saying means there's no need for an inquiry only. Screw it. Yeah. Let's move forward. Let's make an example. Let's move forward. That is how I would say we need to do it.
But let me ask you this, and just this is purely in the
light
of
time. I'm using little easy language because it is speakeasy. Yeah?
So, Jyoti Shetty has commented saying that it's not only about representation, it's also about hierarchy. So even with 50%, if there is no agency, harassment can continue, which is what I wanted to actually ask you as a follow-up question, Harshal, because, sometimes, a lot of times it's not going to be 9 women or 9 people that come out and speak. It's going to be that one woman, and that one woman is going to say, why aren't you believing me? Or like, why do you need to conduct a survey to do something like this? So, and just to add about culture, I don't think it's so much about pop culture representation and what we're consuming, but it's also about the culture that you create within the organization. So course, I think that's something that I'm going to take to Liz, because Liz, we've hotly been discussing the POSH Act, and maybe Seema ji can jump in a little later, to kind of gloss over that. But there are many loopholes about, in the POSH Act. And I think perhaps the biggest thing for me is the fact that the POSH Act does not deal with anonymous complaints. Yeah. And you're not going to get people and women who will, with the fear of putting their career on the line, be called out at office, be, called all kinds of things like office slut and all kinds of things like that, say that, okay, this man is harassing me, and the company is going to take it at face value and say, okay, we have your back. Yes. So, do you find that perhaps, again, it's a fine balance between law, legalities and culture, but there is no understanding, within the employees, and there is no understanding of what the rights are. Women and other men as well don't understand what their rights are as employees. Do you think that maybe HR needs to step it up when it comes to that?
I'm going to take a little extra time this time to answer this question. Normally, I rush really quickly. And through all the speakeasies that we've had right now, my role has always been to talk about policy and setting up a policy and drafting policy. And the constant a rebuttal that I get from people is that, making a policy is like forcing people into something and stuff. But I think very differently. I really believe that setting policy is like setting a foundation for the culture that you want to set in the company. Just because two people come and say that we want to have equal opportunity or we want to have a good culture where men and women are treated equally doesn't mean that that's going to happen, because you're not every day, like Harshal said, his job is to run a business and he needs to think about all the monetary benefits as well. So in order to have certain things that you want in terms of culture, I think setting up policy, first of all, is number one. As far as the POSH Act goes, I've actually made a lot of notes today. I've never done this before at one of our speakeasies. But there are a lot of loopholes. Like Sanjana, one of the things that you mentioned was the anonymous complaints. But I just want to mention before I go into that, there are a lot of organizations that go beyond the POSH Act and allow for anonymous complaints to actually be filed as well. But again, we're talking about somebody who has to come out and say things like, oh, this person messaged me badly, or this person called me, hey, cutie, or hey, sweetie. And, Harshal said it very, it just slipped, I think, where he said it's a very basic problem, right? So me as a woman sometimes could just walk in the office and someone says, oh, Liz, you look really hot today. And to me, that could be like, wow, no one's called me hot in like 6 months. So that little attention that I got. And if I allow for that to happen going forward, it could turn into something else. So what is a basic problem? It could start with something that's really small, but then end up as something really big, like text messages being freely sent, making sexual comments and stuff. I mean, luckily, I don't know if it went to that situation over there. The other loopholes in the POSH Act, one thing that I am really concerned about is the fact that the IC, which is the internals committee that, everybody that comes up immediately when you talk about the POSH Act. First of all, the POSH Act is hardly implemented anywhere. Like, two companies really have a committee, and how trained is this committee to actually deal with these issues? Number one, the chairperson of this committee needs to be a senior member. This needs to be somebody who's very well aware of the legal implications of the laws. Are these people, first of all, actually trained? Are they going through any certification courses? Do they have a course in industrial, legal matters and stuff like that? Probably not. I don't know. I've not really done a study about it, but that's what I think. The second thing is you need to be attached to an NGO, like an internal party that also has to be on the board, okay? And somebody who's actually aware of sexual harassment cases and who's actually been working on it and has, sat through mediation and stuff like that. It just can't be anybody if they've just, I've worked for an NGO, interned with an NGO. Plus you have to have 2 employees internally. Now, which employees are you going to choose as management? What does it come down to? Are these people trained? Have they worked at social causes before? Do they have any experience dealing with something like this? Or are they coming over there and just dealing with the he said, she said conversation? Because that's not a really fair way to investigate anything. So that's the second loophole. The third loophole, and this really freaks me out. So the time limit to actually complain about something is within 90 days. Okay, so you have to complain within 90 days. And that to me is really scary, because something that could have happened maybe 3 months, before, right. I could have brushed it out. And then I see someone else going through it, could trigger something, right? And now I feel like complaining about it. Is it really not something that should be valid? Of course not. Also, the investigation sometimes can go on up to 90 days. Now, again, going back to what Harshal said, depending on how basic or how serious you think the matter is, that's how much time has been put into this investigation. Unfortunately, if you think it was a very basic thing like just a text message or just a sleazy comment, you're probably, the HR team or the IC committee is probably forced to make a decision really quickly about this without any further investigation. But if it's rape or it's proper molestation, they may go on for longer. Not to forget that while all of this investigation is going on, this girl is actually still at work. So she's probably dealing with some gossip. Okay, what are these meetings happening every week? Or the guy has probably gone and told his friends that, oh, she's made a big, issue out of this. She's just always been the office slut. And these are the kind of words that are constantly thrown around. And those are the kind of things that I don't even know if surveys are done about. There are a lot of women definitely going through this constantly, where at office they may have sexual relationships with other people in the office, and they just call the office slut, so people think that they could sort of come in and say anything about them. So those are the three loopholes that I found. Also the shame, right, of actually coming out and saying something like that, because maybe it was consent for like a couple of times, but after that, if they're uncomfortable because it went too far, that is the problem. I wanted to mention something else, that the POSH Act doesn't really cover men. It only covers women, right? But a lot of organizations as well, because a lot of people I think will bring that up, that it's unfair because it doesn't cover men, and men also go through some sexual harassment situations. But there are organizations who go above the POSH Act and do put that in place, that even as a man, if you feel harassed, you can actually make a complaint. So that's
correct. Yeah, I think also, yeah, the fact that it's not gender neutral. So even men who, identify as women, it doesn't really cover that. And there are a fair amount of trans people and folk out there who are getting harassed, because of this particular issue. But just to clarify over here, I don't think that, it's pertinent to even, kind of say that any kind of harassment is basic. Because it can necessarily and very importantly impede or stop somebody from performing their best at their career because of something that we consider basic. So I think a lot of that has to do with sensitization, and the kind of culture that, we bring about. So Shada, I wanted to ask this specifically to you, because I think it's specific to what happened with you. I feel a big part of consent is the fact that we demonize women's sexuality. So even in a situation where I may be uncomfortable, I find that a lot of times I'm not able to give consent actively. I'm not able to give consent throughout, because I am scared also of how my sexuality is going to be viewed. Do you find that as well? Did you find that in your case? I think you're on mute. You're on mute.
So since I'm from a certain amount of privilege of coming from a position where my sexuality is not demonized within my social circles, within my immediate family, within my close friends, and even within my own head, it made it very easy for me to separate myself and what I am like from the actual thing that is wrong, which is my boundaries being crossed. And I realized that that's not the case for most people who are actually speaking about these things, because the first thing that does come up when you're talking about these things is that you are like this, and it is an easy point to bring up to devalidate somebody, because there's so much shame revolving around liberated sexualities and any sort of body positivity, especially in our culture. It certainly is an issue of the masses and has to be very topically dealt with.
Okay. So no, I'm sorry. I thought you were still adding something to it. Okay, so just to our viewers as well, you can please continue to make comments. We're taking questions right now. Jyoti Shetty says, I think this one is for Harshil as well. As a reverse, even if 9 women complain, the one man has the right to voice his side. True equality is about being fair to all. Absolutely.
No, that is bullshit. Yeah, that is not going to work, because if 9 people are said, then I go into an inquiry, I'm wasting my time and everybody's time. So, that is stupid. I think if it is that one, then I think one you have to scrutinize, because according to me, if one person has stood up, then there could be, I mean, I'm sorry, you guys may disagree, but if one woman has stood up, then there could be foul play. I have to investigate that properly. But if there are 9 similar voices, then there is no question only. The other, if there is one, there is a need to investigate, according to me, and that's the rule that I follow in my organization.
But but the thing, okay. One second. Everybody has a lot to say. Okay, so yeah, okay. Liz, go ahead.
So I just wanted to understand, if you don't investigate the situation, could this be something that's culturally wrong that you're missing out on? That would be my only concern by not investigating something, because this could be...
No, what I mean by not investigate, sorry Liz, but you spoke about anonymity. So what happened when that survey went out? It's an anonymous survey with saying, do you think the line had been crossed? If 9 people say yes, the line had been crossed, and 9 people give detailed accounts, and then there are 3 others who say that I've heard of the others also, then what more is there to investigate?
On you, I think what you've done is amazing.
That's the thing, right? Like the majority.
Go ahead, Tushada, go ahead.
The majority being able to dictate the consequences of an action.
Correct.
Or something like that is just devalidating a lot of experiences in the process. So what really needs to be kept in mind is that consent is freely given, it's reversible. Those things being kept in mind, there's no need for a majority and minority when or those sort of things.
I fully agree that there is no debate only. I think there's no debate only. See, consent is, I think, most of the boys, and if I can speak from the boys' point of view, what we are hearing, and maybe, this is different in some parts of India, and Seema ji maybe in different other parts of India that, you spoke about. But I think at least in, what I'm hearing a lot from my peers who are boys, the attitude is becoming that we have to become, there's almost like we are going to become careful. Why do you want to get into this unnecessarily getting into any sort of embroilment? Just keep it, for lack of a better word, keep it in your pants, keep your thing, keep your body language correct, keep your boundaries correct. And I think we can also have a sort of, it's okay to accept that, okay, fine, if there is a rule among the genders that, okay, if consent is that when the woman says a vehement yes, only then it's a vehement yes, I think that's okay. There's no problem with that.
It's not even about the women. It's both parties. Both parties have to
I'm assuming the
I think
when he's going for it, he's interested. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, and I think a lot of times, Dr. Ruksheda, maybe you can jump in here. It's not so much. I'm really tired and grateful in a way for a lot of men who say, now we have to be scared with how we deal with women. And I'm like, yeah, it means that you have done something wrong in the past. And you're being called out for it now. So it's like a serial killer turning around and say, oh, now I have to be careful with how I hide the bodies, because we're being tried. So it works like that. So I think a large part is also about kind of creating that culture. So if you can kind of gloss over how patriarchy here plays a role in consent and of course gender roles as well, and what we can do to kind of change and shift the narrative.
So let me talk a little bit more like a psychiatrist, right? Everybody, a lot of us, thankfully now, because we talk about mental health so easily, understand CBT, cognitive behavior therapy. And just like how all of you guys are talking about behavior, don't say this, don't do this, don't do this. So even if I've learned the behavior because, the policy has told me, that I'm going to get penalized with terms of termination of the job or whatever it is, what we're not understanding is that unless and until the cognitive remapping doesn't happen, the behavior is that I can just take that away anywhere, isn't it? At workplace, I could be like really nice and careful about consent and everything, and I can come home and like do whatever it is that I feel like on the street or in my home at all, isn't it? So and from a mental health point of view, any kind of abuse, harassment, whether that's verbal, social, virtual, physical, it's going to lead to a psychiatric and a psychological issue. And that may have a lifetime of sequelae in different aspects and in different forms that one may not even understand and recognize at that point. And what we also need to understand, consent is not just that, whether I'm getting violated. It's very deeply connected to my autonomy, my sense and my autonomy over myself plays a huge impact on my brain development, on my behavior patterns, on my personality patterns, on my attitude towards everything. And you know, I don't really accept the fact that men have to start or anybody for that matter has to start behaving because now somebody else is telling you. You're an adult. You're responsible for your own mind, your attitude, your behavior, your concepts, and everything. Get on with it. Why are you not interested in your own evolution as a person, where you understand what is right and what is wrong and set your own values as well? And you know, जैसे सीमा जी भी कह रहे थे कि हमारे पास बहुत सारे जो है कानूनी अगर हमने दाव पेच कर भी लिए, मगर जब तक उसको हम ट्रांसलेट नहीं करेंगे कि हम बच्चे बच्चे और बच्ची बच्ची को नहीं समझाएंगे कि क्या सही है क्या गलत है। यहाँ पे मुझे you know just 2-3 दिन पहले हमारा जो ग्रुप्स होता है उसमें I was venting or I was getting a lot of support from my female psychiatrist. It just happened to be that one group क्योंकि I had a terrible time at on you know terrible session. I was this close to crying, which doesn't happen very often, because I had to sit down and tell this young person who's 13 years of age that whatever has happened over the last couple of years with her, with multiple people, is not something that was consensual, because you're of that age that there is no consent. So the similar way, you know, where because I'm underage, I may not be able to be fully consensual. And if I am in a you know, in a hierarchy, if I am, you know, not really in a position of power, I may not be able to give consent. So these are simple things that we need to be able to explain to everybody else, and for us to understand at our level as well, that okay, if I don't want to do something, or if I don't want you to do something to me, what is that personal space that I'm talking about? My mental space, or my physical space, and my virtual space for that matter. And if you violate that, what does that say about you? And how do I then need to respond? We need to teach children, we need to teach, and you know, all these people who are in the workforce right now, they're either having children already or going to have children soon. So if they're only concerned about let's behave and keep it in our pants kind of a thing, what are they going to go home and teach their own children about it? Boys as well as girls.
And actually, it's very interesting that you raised this, because just for this session, I spoke to at least 10 to 15 women who have children in you know, different schools all over the city. Of course, it's a very, very small number because it is Bombay and it is a completely urban setting. But I found quite shockingly, and these are fairly you know, fancy schools that don't have sex education. And even if they do have sex education, it's not a cultural education that is given. It is more to do with science, more to do with biology. And I think a lot of times, I think that is so skewed because, you know, children are still getting to know about their bodies. Consent is not taught. Gender roles is not taught. I'm shocked that some of the parents weren't even aware whether sex education was part of, you know, the curriculum in any kind of way. So I think that is something that we need to change. सीमा जी, क्या आप ये मुझे बता सकते हैं, क्योंकि मुझे लगता है कि बहुत सारे ऐसे you know, the men basically, उनको डर लगता है कि शायद misuse हो, क्योंकि बहुत सारे ऐसे instances हैं misuse के जो women friendly provisions है criminal law में, पर और ये ज्यादातर होता है जब marital relationships में कुछ problems आती है. पर बहुत men को शायद ये डर है कि same applies to sexual harassment laws. But is it true that, you know, there can be any kind of misuse when it comes to these kind of laws?
Exactly. संजना जी, हमारे पास एक केस है. उस केस में लड़का और लड़की, लड़का जो है लड़की को कमिटमेंट करता है कि मैं आपसे मैरिज करूंगा. देन आफ्टर दोनों फिजिकल इंटीमेट होते हैं और लड़का डिनाई कर देता है. जब वो कंप्लेन करने के लिए लड़की जाती है तो पुलिस का कहना है कि आपकी कंसेंट थी, बट वो कंसेंट किस तरीके से ली गई, इंटेंशन उसका क्या था, राइट? लड़के की नजर में ये लॉ का मिसयूज है क्योंकि लड़की ने कंसेंट दी, बट उस लड़के ने वो मैलाफाइड तरीके से कंसेंट ली, राइट? अगर आपको उस लड़की से मैरिज करने का कमिटमेंट नहीं करते तो शायद वो आपके साथ फिजिकल इंटीमेट नहीं होती, राइट? ये आपकी कंडीशन थी. लेकिन अब जनरली ऐसे केसेस में क्या है कि कंसेंट आपकी थी. कंसेंट कैसी थी? बात उस पर होनी चाहिए, इंटेंशन पे होनी चाहिए, तो यहाँ पर लॉ का मिसयूज नहीं है, राइट। दूसरा, नो डाउट कि 10% ऐसे केसेस हैं जिसमें फीमेल जो हैं, जो भी लॉ उनके फेवर के हैं, उसका वो मिसयूज करते हैं। लेकिन मैं बायस्ड नहीं हूं। इसके पीछे एक जो मुझे कारण समझ में आता है, संजना जी, अगर हम पूरी पैट्रियार्की की बात करें, आज आप देखेंगे कि जब भी कोई डिवोर्स केस फाइल होता है, एक फीमेल जो इंडिपेंडेंट नहीं है, वो अपने हस्बैंड से सबसे पहला केस जो फाइल करती है वो 125 CRPC का करती है कि उसको मेंटेनेंस दिया जाए, और मेंटेनेंस में भी एंटरिम मेंटेनेंस की वो डिमांड करती है, क्योंकि जो हमने इन पर केस फाइल किया है उसकी फी हम कहाँ से अफोर्ड करेंगे। अगर मेरे पास अंडर 5 ईयर कोई चाइल्ड है तो उसको हम कैसे मेंटेन करेंगे। अब आप सोसाइटी का स्ट्रक्चर समझिए कि एक फीमेल जिसके अगेंस्ट लड़ रही है वो उसी से उस फाइट के लिए पैसे की डिमांड कर रही है। तो जो फीमेल, अब उसमें क्या हुआ कि जो ज्यादातर अगर प्रॉपर्टी की बात करें, मनी की बात करें, हमारी कंट्री में किसके पास है? मेल के पास है। मैं सिर्फ इंडिया की बात नहीं कर रही हूँ, मैं ऑल ओवर वर्ल्ड की बात कर रही हूँ। किसके पास है? पैट्रियार्की ने ये सिस्टम अपने हिसाब से बनाया जिसमें फीमेल के लिए उन्होंने डिसाइड किया कि आप घर में रहेंगे, ये आपका क्राइटेरिया, हम आपको मेंटेन करेंगे। और उस मेंटेन के नाम पे उन्होंने एक वर्ड का यूज करते कि हम आपको वेलफेयर आपका कर रहे हैं, आपके बच्चे को पढ़ा रहे हैं, आपको ज्वेलरी दे रहे हैं, आपको घर में सारी फैसिलिटी प्रोवाइड करवा रहे हैं, राइट। आपने ये सब करवाया। लेकिन जब आज एक फीमेल अपना इंडिपेंडेंट होके वर्क करना चाहती है, तब भी आप उसको आगे नहीं बढ़ने देना चाहते। जब वो आगे बढ़ना चाहती है उसके लिए बैरियर्स हैं, उसके लिए आपने डिसाइड कर रखे हैं, ये आपकी बाउंड्रीज है। तो जब फीमेल किसी के साथ रिलेशन में आती है, नो डाउट कि वो म्यूचुअल कंसेंट उनकी है जब वो रिलेशन बना रहे हैं। लेकिन जब वो मेल सेपरेट होता है, उसके पास मनी है, उसके पास पावर है, उसके पास चॉइसेस हैं किसी और फीमेल के पास जाने की, तो फीमेल का जो फर्स्ट अटैक होता है कि हम तुम्हारे ऊपर रेप केस फाइल करेंगे। और वो इसलिए कर रही है क्योंकि उसके पास ये सारी चीजें नहीं है। वो चाहती है कि वो मेल जो है जिसने उसके साथ फिजिकल इंटीमेट हुआ, वो उसको अब मेंटेन करे, उसकी जो जरूरतें हैं उनको फुलफिल करे, क्योंकि उस फीमेल के लिए सोसाइटी के अंदर इतना इजी नहीं है सरवाइव करना। जो मेल ने, आप देखिए कैसा कल्चर हमने अपने भारत में बना रखा है कि एक राजा की 3 रानियां होती थी। अगर एक पर्सन 50,000 1 लाख की जॉब कर रहा है, क्या वो 3 फीमेल को मेंटेन कर सकता है? वो सिर्फ इसलिए कर रहे थे राजा क्योंकि उनके पास पूरा एक कल्चर, उनका पूरा साम्राज्य होता था, उनके पास फैसिलिटीज होती थी और वो फैसिलिटी प्रोवाइड करवाते थे। और उसी फैसिलिटीज को आज भी आप देखेंगे कि मेल, जो नंबर ऑफ पीपल की मैं बात कर रही हूँ, मैं उन पर्सन की बात नहीं कर रही हूँ, जो बहुत सारे मेल हैं जो फीमेल के राइट के लिए आकर के फाइट कर रहे हैं। लेकिन वो भी फाइट जो वो कर रहे हैं वो उनका अपना एक तरीका है। हम क्या सोचते हैं, हम क्या महसूस करते हैं, ये फीमेल डिसाइड करेगी ना। हमने मेल के लिए लॉज नहीं बनाए हैं। आप टाइम टू टाइम जो आपने हमारे लिए लॉज बनाए हैं उसमें आप अपने आप को प्रोग्रेसिव बता करके कुछ अमेंडमेंट करके कहते हो कि हमने आपके लिए लॉ बनाए। आप कौन होते हैं हमारे लिए लॉ बनाने वाले? ये तो मैं खुद करूंगी ना। और दूसरी चीज, नेचर क्या कहता है कि दोनों इक्वल हैं। अगर दोनों इक्वल हैं तो इक्वलिटी में फिर प्रॉपर्टी मेल के पास इतनी कहां से आ गई कि फीमेल उसके पास इसलिए फिजिकल इंटीमेट होने को तैयार है क्योंकि वहां से उसको गाड़ी मिल जाएगी, वहां से उसको घर मिल जाएगा। क्या ऐसा फीमेल कर सकती है कि हमारी भी चॉइसेस हैं कि अगर किसी मेल पर्सन को हम पसंद कर रहे हैं, लेकिन हाँ मुझे पता है कि 1-2% ऐसा पॉसिबल है अब, क्योंकि फीमेल भी एम्पावर्ड हो रही है तो वो भी उसी तरीके का बिहेवियर ला रही है जो मेल का है। लेकिन मेरा अपना मानना है कि जिस बिहेवियर से, जिस पैट्रियार्की से हमें प्रॉब्लम है, हमें उसके जैसा अपने आप का व्यवहार नहीं करना है, वैसा हमें बिहेवियर नहीं करना है। क्योंकि जिस सोसाइटी के स्ट्रक्चर से हमें प्रॉब्लम है, अगर हम उन्हीं चीजों को फॉलो करने लगे तो इसमें जो रेवोल्यूशन की बात कर रहे हैं, जो हम सुधार की बात कर रहे हैं, वो संभव नहीं है। वो उधर से इधर ट्रांसफर हो जाएगा, राइट। हमें क्या करना है कि सोसाइटी हमें एक ऐसी बनानी है जहां मेल फीमेल के इक्वल राइट हो, हमारी आगे आने वाली जो जनरेशन है वो डिस्क्रिमिनेशन ना करे अपनी पार्टनर के साथ में, अपनी सिस्टर के साथ, अपनी कलीग के साथ। लेकिन इशू यही है संजना जी कि अभी भी मेरे भारत में जो मेल पर्सन है वो इस चीज पर अड़े हुए हैं कि नहीं, डिसाइड तो हम करेंगे कि फीमेल के लिए हम कितना लॉ मेकिंग करेंगे, उनकी कितनी फ्रीडम है, हम ही डिसाइड करेंगे। तो देखिए, आप स्टार्टिंग से करते आए हैं, वो स्ट्रक्चर ऐसा था। हम क्या बोल रहे हैं आप उसको सुनिए ना। हम मेल के लिए नहीं डिसाइड कर रहे, कौन फीमेल है जो ये डिसाइड करेगी कि नहीं फीमेल के, अगर मेल के साथ क्राइम हो गया, आपने बहुत बड़ी गलती की, आपको रात में नहीं निकलना चाहिए था। प्राचीन काल में लोग ना धोती और कुर्ता वेयर करते थे, आपने जीन्स और टॉप क्यों पहना हुआ था? क्या कभी ये फीमेल क्वेश्चन करती है? और आज अगर जो भी हमारी कैपिटलिज्म आई, उसके वजह से डिफरेंट तरीके के कल्चर जो है, हमने ग्लोबलाइजेशन के टाइम में हमने इकोनॉमी के साथ साथ हमने अपने कल्चर को भी एक्सपोर्ट इंपोर्ट किया है।
बिल्कुल।
अगर उसमें एक फीमेल अमेरिकन पैटर्न के जो भी क्लोथ्स है वो वेयर कर रही है, मेल भी कर रहे हैं, लेकिन फीमेल के साथ क्राइम होने पर अगर वो ऑब्जेक्शन करती है तो आप अपने उस क्राइम को उसके छोटे कपड़ों की वजह से जस्टिफाई कर लेते हैं। ये कैसा कल्चर हम डेवलप कर रहे हैं? एक ह्यूमन राइट आर्टिकल 21 जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन का है वो कहीं नहीं कहता है कि मेल और फीमेल डिफरेंट है, इक्वल राइट है। तो ये बहुत सारी चीजें, मुझे लगता है कि संजना जी अभी हम बेसिक बात कर रहे हैं विमेन राइट की। इंडिया में जो हम भले ही लॉ मेकिंग कर रहे हैं, ये बहुत बेसिक राइट्स हैं। मुझे लगता है कि हमें उस लेवल पे बात करनी है कि आपने पूरे वर्ल्ड में किसी फीमेल ने क्या कोई वेपन बनाया है? किसी फीमेल ने क्या कोई परमाणु बम बनाया है? आपने अपने हिसाब से पूरे विश्व को खतरे में डाल दिया है। ये पैट्रियर्की है, ये मेल माइंडसेट है। हम लोग कंपैशन है हमारे अंदर, हम अपने तरीके का वर्ड बनाना चाहते हैं, और उस हमारी जो सोच है, हमारी जो विचारधारा है, वो उस पर हमें तो आप वर्क ही नहीं करने देते, क्योंकि इनिशियल स्टेज पर आप हमें रोक रहे हैं। अभी तो हमें अपनी सेफ्टी, सिक्योरिटी, अपनी फ्रीडम की फाइट करनी है। सोसाइटी का स्ट्रक्चर कैसा होगा ये तो आप हमें डिसाइड ही नहीं करने दे रहे हैं। तो इन सारी चीजों पे मुझे लगता है कि फीमेल को सिर्फ हमें अब इस लेवल पे हम राइट्स की बात नहीं करेंगे कि मुझे कैसे कपड़े पहनने हैं, मैं कैसे रहूंगी, सारी चीजें, ये पूरे सोसाइटी का पैटर्न चेंज करना है हमें, क्योंकि इस सोसाइटी के पैटर्न ने सिर्फ फीमेल को नहीं उसको बाउंड किया है। फीमेल का सिर्फ मॉलेस्टेशन नहीं हुआ है, हमारी जो आने वाली जनरेशन है, जिसमें हमारे जो बच्चे हैं, जो बॉय हैं, जो किड्स हैं,
बिल्कुल,
उनके भी माइंडसेट आपने ऐसे कर दिए हैं कि वो आज से 50 साल पहले भी 50 साल बाद भी आएंगे तब भी उनका माइंडसेट ऐसा रहेगा, क्योंकि आप सिर्फ अपने हिसाब से समाज को चलाना चाहते हैं। और मेरा मानना है कि हमारी कंट्री में एक ही प्राइम मिनिस्टर जो इंदिरा गांधी जी हुई, मैं पार्टी लाइन में बात नहीं करूंगी, लेकिन वो एक कंट्री को मैसेज देके गई, पूरे वर्ल्ड को मैसेज देके गई। तो क्यों नहीं फीमेल लीड कर सकती है? वो क्यों नहीं डिसाइड कर सकती है कि हम कैसे अपनी कंट्री को रेगुलेट करेंगे? लेकिन संजना जी, इस पैट्रियर्की में, पैट्रियर्की पॉलिटिक्स, एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, बिजनेस, बॉलीवुड इंडस्ट्री, हर जगह पर इस तरीके से हावी है कि एक फीमेल को ये सेक्रीफाइस करने के लिए उसका टैलेंट सेकेंडरी हो जाता है, और उसको सेक्रीफाइस करने के लिए ये लोग मजबूर कर देते हैं। तो इन सारी चीजों पे हमें फाइट करना है। ये फाइट हमारी बहुत बड़ी है संजना जी,
लंबी और जारी रहेगी। And you are of course used to fighting, so that's okay. We have women like you in our midst, and that's more than enough. Dr. Ruksheta, there's a question that's come in from Mohammad Azhar. What do you say about consent after marriage?
क्यों शादी के बाद कंसेंट गायब हो जाता है उसका कॉन्सेप्ट? मतलब वो शादी लाइक ना कोई इलाज है, ना कोई कुछ है, ना कोई कुछ है, राइट? सो इट्स जस्ट अ मैरिज इज आल्सो अ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, and you can get into that contract with consent, and you cannot continue that contract without consent. So so whether we talk and consent of any, like again, you know, it stems down to, if I want a consensual relationship, it's a happier relationship. So my personal kind of like you know खुदगर्जी के हिसाब से भी मैं अगर देखूंगी तो मुझे तो अच्छा रिलेशनशिप चाहिए ना, तो चाहे मैं शादीशुदा रिलेशनशिप में हूँ कि गैर शादीशुदा रिलेशनशिप में हूँ, तो अगर आपको ये बेसिक नहीं समझ में आ रहा है कि हाँ अगर कंसेंशुअल होगा तो अच्छा होगा, तो कहीं आपको अपने आप में देखना है कि कहाँ कुछ पेज ढीला हो गया है। जब हम कहते हैं because we don't understand the basic concept of consent, that's the reason there is an evolving culture of incels, which is giving rise to so much more aggression and violence in real life as well as in virtual life. And that's so whether it's marriage, whether it's not marriage, consent is always paramount. So even if it's a verbal contract that, okay, let's go on a date today, or you and I are working together today, those are verbal contracts also, but those are again consensual contracts. And actually, at any given time, if I say that, no, this is not something that I'm agreeable, so that contract is void. So you can no longer say nice things to me if I don't want to hear them.
शेदा जी, आपकी बात को मैं इसको अंजना जी, मैं केस जो है मेरे पास में डिस्कस करती हूँ, रिसेंटली है, गैंग रेप का मैटर है, मैरिटल रेप का मैटर है, बट इंडिया में माननीय जो हमारी सुप्रीम कोर्ट है उसने भी डिनाई कर दिया कि मैरिटल रेप को अगर हमने रेप माना तो हमारा जो कल्चर है डिस्ट्रॉय हो जाएगा। इट मींस कि कल्चर को प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए आप एक जेंडर के साथ जो भी क्राइम हो रहा है उसको आप जस्टिफाई करेंगे, मतलब किस तरीके का, मतलब ये हमारी ये हमारी जुडिशरी का ओपिनियन है। लेकिन मैं केस को डिस्कस करी हूँ, जैसे शेदा मैम ने बताया, अभी रिसेंटली मैंने 2 दिन पहले ही एक FIR लॉन्च करवाया है। एक फीमेल आफ्टर मैरिज जब वो अपने ससुराल जाती है, उसका हस्बैंड उसके साथ अननेचुरल सेक्स करता है। देन आफ्टर जब वो बात अपने वो सिस्टर इन लॉ को बताती है, तो वहां पर उसका जो ब्रदर इन लॉ था, वो भी सिस्टर इन लॉ जो हस्बैंड था वो भी था, उसको पता चलता है वो उस लड़की के साथ अननेचुरल सेक्स करता है, रेप करता है। जब वो अपने हस्बैंड को ये चीज डिस्कस करती है तो उसके हस्बैंड का कहना है कि या मैं आपके साथ फिजिकल इंटीमेट हूं या मेरा ब्रदर, एक ही बात है। देन आफ्टर वो लड़की अपने सिस्टर इन लॉ के जो अलग उसकी जो इसमें इंडियन कल्चर में बोलते हैं ननंद जो है उसको बताती, फिर उसका हस्बैंड और उसका जो ब्रदर इन लॉ है दोनों मिलकर उस लड़की का गैंग रेप करते हैं। अब यहाँ पर लीगलिटी की मैं बात इसलिए कर रही हूँ कि ये मैटर तो रेप का है, गैंग रेप का है। जब मैं उसके साथ पुलिस स्टेशन जाती हूँ तो पुलिस का कहना है कि उसके हस्बैंड के ऊपर जो है वो 376 जो है वो नहीं लगेगी, अननेचुरल सेक्स का लगेगा। अननेचुरल सेक्स को ग्राउंड बना करके एक फीमेल डिवोर्स ले सकती है, लेकिन उसका हस्बैंड उस अननेचुरल सेक्स के लिए उसको पनिश नहीं किया जा सकता क्योंकि वो मैरिटल रेप में नहीं आ रहा। या क्या आपने लॉ बना रखा है, आप किस तरीके से पैट्रियार्की सिस्टम की गलत चीजों को जस्टिफाई करते रहेंगे? या तो आपके कल्चर में जो भी खामियां हैं, जो कमियां हैं, उनको ठीक कीजिए, नहीं तो जो एक्चुअल में ह्यूमन राइट्स है फीमेल का, ये फीमेल राइट सेकेंडरी है, बेसिक ह्यूमन राइट्स की बात हो रही है, उसके लिए तो उसको फाइट करने दीजिए, लेकिन आपका कल्चर डिस्ट्रॉय हो जाएगा। तो ऐसे कल्चर को मैं नहीं मानती हूँ जहां पर देश की 49% जो पॉपुलेशन है वो किसी ना किसी तरीके से उसका मोलेस्टेशन हो रहा है, उसका जो राइट है, जो बेसिक ह्यूमन राइट्स है, उसका वायलेशन हो रहा है, और वो हर प्लेस पर हो रहा है। मैं आपको अपना एक्सपीरियंस शेयर करती हूँ। मैं तो एक बहुत ही रूरल एरिया से आती हूँ। वहां पर हमारी जो गांव की लेडी थी उसकी दूसरी जगह मैरिज हुई है। उसका कहना है कि मैंने 3 न्यू बॉर्न बेबी, जो गर्ल्स बेबी थी, उनको जैसे ही उसका बर्थ हुआ उसको मार दिया गला दबा के। सेक्स रेशियो हमारे भारत में कभी इक्वल नहीं हो पाया। हम भले ही 50% की बात कर रहे हैं, एक्चुअल में 50% पॉपुलेशन अगर नहीं है कंट्री में तो उसके लिए भी हमारी पैट्रियार्की रिस्पॉन्सिबल है। अब जब इस पर हम बात करते हैं कि जो भ्रूण हत्या है, जो भी अबॉर्शन होते हैं, फीमेल जो भी गर्ल होती है अगर वो प्रेग्नेंट होती है माँ, तो उसके लिए जनरली जो मेल हैं वो आंसर करते हैं कि इसके लिए फीमेल रिस्पॉन्सिबल है, उनको भी बेटा चाहिए। लेकिन संजना जी आप सोचिए कि ये पैट्रियार्की किस हद तक हावी है कि एक माँ अपने बेटे से, अपने कोख से अपने कोख से वो एक मेल को जन्म देने के लिए तैयार है, लेकिन एक अपने ही जेंडर एक फीमेल को मार दे रही है। ये सिस्टम बनाया गया एक फीमेल के द्वारा नहीं बनाया गया, क्योंकि वो इंडिपेंडेंट सोच ही नहीं सकती है कि उसको एक बेटे को जन्म देना है या बेटी को। उस लेवल पे हमारा सोसाइटी कब चेंज होगा? और इसके लिए आप रिस्पॉन्सिबल ठहरा रहे हैं फीमेल को। और बहुत लोग कहते हैं कि फीमेल के साथ डिबेट डिस्कशन नहीं करने चाहिए पॉलिटिकल इश्यूज पे, सोशल इश्यूज पे या इकोनॉमिकल इश्यूज पे, क्योंकि इनको वो समझ नहीं होती है। संजना जी, एक फैमिली के अंदर, मैं 10% पॉपुलेशन की बात नहीं कर रही हूँ जो फीमेल की जो एम्पावर्ड है, इंटेलेक्चुअल है, 90% फीमेल आप देखेंगे कि अगर फैमिली के अंदर मेरे हस्बैंड है, उनके 4 फ्रेंड आएंगे तो वो बैठ करके टेबल पे बात करेंगे देश की इकोनॉमी, देश की पॉलिटिक्स, नरेंद्र मोदी, शिवसेना, ये सब। और उस टाइम वो वाइफ जो है उसकी किचन में चाय बना के लाएगी, और उसके बाद उसके हस्बैंड जो है उसके फ्रेंड कहेंगे भाभी जी खाना बहुत अच्छा बनाती हैं, भाभी जी चाय बहुत अच्छा बनाती हैं, और वो फीमेल खुश है। वो भी तो उस टेबल पे बैठ के डिस्कशन कर सकती है, टेलीविजन देख करके अपनी ओपिनियन बना सकती है, फिर उस पर बोल सकती है। लेकिन नहीं, उसकी एनर्जी, उसका टाइम, उसका हर चीज आपने किचन में सीमित करके उसको बता दिया है कि वो इनोसेंट है, उसको सुंदर दिखना है, और उसको फीमेल को प्रेजेंटिव
हंसते रहना है, हंसते रहना है।
Exactly, हंसते
Please
रहना है।
smile. You look so nice when you smile. Acha, so you know, talking about laws and really them not being constructed or formed or passed with an idea of having, you know, the existing realities in mind. Harshal, employers under the POSH Act and rules that are broadly defined don't take into consideration the different kinds and sizes of businesses and whether an ICC can actually be formed or afforded. Do you think that is a problem that persists across lines in several businesses?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I don't think it's a, you know, I mean, I just want to take a step back. I don't think, you know, listening to some of the pointers that we've heard, you know, Aisha, I was just making few notes and coming back to some of the, you know, thought processes that are there, because I disagree with some of the things, not vehemently, but, you know, I think it's important to get the other perspective also.
Sure.
I think that, you know, the one is, you know, I think one good point which was made by Dr. Saida is about this cognitive remapping. And I think, you know, just one thing I'd like to express is that when the male gender is saying that I will have to behave, I mean, I use a little easy term, which is keep it in the pants, but when they says I have to behave, it's actually cognitive remapping, which is happening with another kind of expression, which is coming out. So my suggestion would be to the women, don't judge that expression, because it is genuinely, when you see that also, I mean, I'll give an example of, you know, what happens is if you see a pattern happening, you know, thousands of people having a pattern at the same time, psychologically together, then that's, you know, that's change slowly happening. So that's one thing, you know, I just want to put across as, you know, something that was said. I think it's also, I think from what Seema ji is echoing, it's also a respect conversation, not a, you know, not a legal conversation as much. I think it's more about, you know, cultural respect and how you bring equality. I don't think it's about one versus the other. I think it's about bestowing the balance, and that's what it's about. And I think while we are on that, I think, you know, to some of the points, it's also, I don't think it's okay even when we are having this kind of a conversation. I think while we are shaming the men to say that, you know, some things are just not acceptable, I think just that way, with the way the law is structured, I think it's not okay to accept misuse of law by even 10% of the women. So I think, you know, that's the man's perspective on it. So I think that we should not, you know, kind of accept it or excuse that at the same time, because that's when equality and balance will come in. And that's why I come back to the organization, which is that, you know, within the organization, I think all the points that Lynn also made about, you know, having a committee and, you know, these are the loopholes in the POSH Act. I think there's always going to be loopholes. I think it's about governance and it's about intent, and it's about how quickly you make changes. You know, I think so in my own instance, what I've encountered is that even if it's a one-on-one complaint, usually what we try to do is we speak to the boy and we said that this is what's coming. Here's a slap on the wrist. Don't do this again. Yes, there's going to be a little bit of chatter. I think that's natural. When you have, you know, 500 people working together, what's going to happen is that some conversation is going to happen. But what you're doing is that you're systemically driving change by saying that, okay, every time something comes up, you're telling people saying, hey, it's okay to speak, and you're taking action. Hey, it's okay to speak, and you're taking action. I think that's the only way to go. I don't think it's, I think and I don't think there it's about an ICC or it's about a POSH committee or anything of that sort, because I think as long as that intent is very firm and consistent, then organizations of all sizes can employ that. I know it's easier said than done, and probably a little idealistic on that end as well, but that's the only way change will happen if the benchmark is kept a little high.
Okay, Liz, this is something else, of course, that I feel that the appointment of the presiding officer in a situation like this is also difficult, because considering there is even a woman in that senior position, how many companies do we see like that actually has a woman in that senior position who's going to be able to be that presiding officer?
Yeah, correct. So I also came across this, and I did speak to a lot of HR people, like I was telling you before this. It's not only somebody in a senior role, but also you need to think about bias, right? Like that has got to come in some way. If this person, this female colleague, or this person who's the chairperson in this committee has probably worked with this other senior member, she's going to look at him from a different perspective, because she's obviously shared a boardroom with him. He's come up with amazing ideas. He's really someone who's adding value to the business. All of these things could come into play as well while you're making a decision about hiring or firing someone. Like, kudos to Harshal for actually letting this person go with it 12 hours if this person was a valuable member to the company. But a lot of people may not be able to do that, and that is just something that happens sort of subconsciously. People are like, oh, I know this person and he would never do something like that. How many times have we actually heard people say that about a person that we know personally? I'm sure I've said it as well about something that I've heard about a man or someone doing something that's inappropriate. The first thing comes like, I know this person. I've known him for so many years. I've worked with him. He would never do something like that. So going back to consent, and, I've sat through a lot of mediation for sexual harassment cases in companies per se. And what I've noticed, Sanjana, is what we also talked about. During the whole, this happened, that happened, this happened, that happened, I said this, I said that. There will be that one moment, there will be that one thing that flips everything over, where somebody feels uncomfortable, somebody feels that something inappropriate is happening, somebody feels violated. And that is the point where somebody needs to speak up, not where somebody needs to speak up, but that's the point where the problem is. Once you take away the consent, like Toshada also said, it is reversible. You could be enjoying it for 5 minutes, and then after that you don't, for whatever reason. And also, like Seema ji said, that is my choice. It needs to be. So it doesn't really matter to me if you were enjoying it before or not, and everything. Also, I really feel like a lot of women, do we have enough women in senior positions? And even if we do, what's to say that people are not going to be biased? So I really think these committees need to be third party, if you're just asking me.
No, I think also, Toshada, do you think that we need to kind of shed this whole thing of she's like my sister and she's like my daughter? And I, for one, I'm really sick of hearing that, because I just feel like men only seem to imagine that respect is due only if, she's a blood relative or she's related to you somehow.
Immediate connection. It has always been this image of if they're related to me, they deserve respect, and I will give them respect, and there's no other way I would treat them, without really realizing all the other patterns that are inherently there. If you're crossing somebody's boundaries and you're told that, you cannot really justify it by saying that I have respect for you, or I have respect for this image that I think I see you in, and that is why whatever I did is okay. And I do not think any of that can devalidate an experience where someone feels uncomfortable. Anything for that matter. The person could be your actual relative, and if they cross your boundaries, they cross your boundaries. That's that. There is not more to crossing boundaries than the person who is experiencing their boundaries being crossed, saying that my boundaries are being crossed.
Okay, so I'm afraid we've completely run out of time, and as much as I'd like to discuss this, in just the last question, Harsha, do you think that perhaps you would do this going forward, given that you have dealt with cases like this in the past, or whether you already have it as a mandate? Do you have something that where you put into place and you kind of brief employees before they start about what their rights are, what constitutes consent, what constitutes inappropriate behavior, things like that?
Yeah, we have put it into our induction actually after this particular case. So in the employee induction, in the first day, it's there. So in fact, we conducted we had not somebody in our organization. So in our organization, we have a fair number of senior women leaders, but we got somebody from outside who's doing a PhD in this particular subject to come and advise us, and somebody who runs an NGO in this space to come and advise us. They put the whole module together. So we put it in the induction. So on the first day when the person comes into the company, they are kind of red flag. Because see, for me, I mean, I'm a pure businessman. So I don't want all this in my workplace. I mean, I just don't need these kind of, I mean, sorry, some of you may not like the way I'm saying it, but just basically, I don't want these issues to be under my roof. So I better just put that out upfront, saying that if you're a man and you're entering the workplace, this is how you got to behave in my roof, if you want to come in my roof. And if you're a woman, these are the rules under my roof. So please be open. In fact, one of the reasons it triggered me to put it in the induction is because while this complaint came in, it was, it came as a wave of something that was going on outside in the media also. So what got me thinking is that why the girls are not able to open up before that? Why did it take them so long to open up? So that got me thinking, saying that, there must be some flaw in the system. And there must be some flaw in, how we are doing it. My friend Abhimanyu has put some comment.
Maybe Indian men would listen to She's Like My Boss. I think this is his response to She's Like My Sister. Go on, Harshan.
Yeah, so I think, I think it should be part of the inductions. I think that's the best way to do it. And then I think there should be regular reminders. But I think, we have heard many perspectives, and I think we have heard perspectives of the two Indias. So the Seema ji has spoken about the other India, which I have unfortunately zero clue about. I would say कि मुझे कुछ बहुत सीखने को मिला उनकी वजह से, और मतलब ऐसा some of these things you should not even be debating, according to me. It's like, when you read right now, I was reading this Nelson Mandela's book, and he's talking about black, white, and colored, how they classify human beings. It's like that what we are doing in our country right now between men and women. So that is not even a debate. I think what Seema ji is talking about, that side of India is something which needs urgent change. Now maybe we, some of us.
I agree with that, but the thing is that you cannot kind of take away and devalidate anybody else's struggles. And acknowledging the difference between a man and a woman is also making it equal, because then it's like saying that, the period leave discussion that we had, that men and women should be treated equally, but you're acknowledging the fact that they are different, that there are biological differences, and when you level the playing field, then you can call it equality. So Shada, go ahead, you're trying to make a point.
I was coming to I actually lost my point here.
It's okay, it's fine. It happens a lot. Don't worry. You can definitely come back and add to it. But I think, we're completely out of time. Before I go, some people are adding some comments now. Guys, where were you before? Ajay saying, I work for Amazon. Every new employee goes through an induction program during which there is a separate session on a sexual harassment policy. It's an interactive session to make everyone understand.
Yes, that is sort of what I was talking.
Fine, go ahead.
It's actually coming to the point that there's no two different sides to India and this whole story. These are common thread problems that are running on different intensities throughout the country, throughout the world at this point as we speak. And it becomes very essential for all organizations, not just offices or schools, but at homes, within friends, within extracurriculars, everything. It needs to be a more normalized conversation where you where you sort of organize these workshops, seminars, some sort of education that gives an understanding of consent to everybody, regardless of their gender, regardless of their sexuality, regardless of any of those things. The genuine issue of understanding consent itself is what sort of is the root to all of these problems that we speak about. While when we make understanding consent more accessible, is when we will really see large-scale change in terms of what we experience and what we feel like and what we have to go through when it comes to talking about consent altogether. And that was it.
I'm happy that you were able to, catch that train of your thought. But thank you so much. And just to sum it up, consent is informed. It's enthusiastic, it is specific, it is also reversible, and it is without force, it is without coercion, it's without drugs, it is without alcohol. So please, if you are watching this, please educate the children in your home, the people in your offices, and even yourself. It always helps. Thank you so much for joining us on another edition of Speakeasy. Yes, correct. Thank you, Harshal. Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Tushada. Thank you, Dr. Ruksheda. And thank you, Seema. I'll see everybody next week. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Bye. Bye. Bye.